as you can see, I'm a local product, born and bred in Singapore. I'm in my mid-50s and I'm happy. I read fiction in the form of novels, and I'm lucky enough to have published a few novels to date.
It is with the greatest pleasure for me to announce that the winner of this year's Epigram Book Fiction Prize is The Riot Act by Sebastian Sim.
There was one day I went to the library and sat down and asked myself, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? Because I try to see myself 20, 30 years down the road. I see myself as a professional, possibly financially secure, professionally respectable, living a comfortable life. But the problem is that didn't excite me at all. And I realized that if I want to live a life of no regrets, I really ought to do something that's closer to my heart. So that was the moment I decided that I ought to focus my energies and make traveling my lifestyle and writing my aspiration. In my 20s, I did a lot of backpacking, a lot of trekking. That's where my passion is. And I realized that once you get out of the comfort zone of Singapore, you realize that there are people who live their lives differently, who think differently, who hold different values. And that's when I actually broadened my horizon and realized the possibilities out there. And it gives me fresh insight so that when I come back to Singapore, I look at our own behavior, how we live our life with fresh eyes. None of my friends or family heard about anybody who can make a living as a full-time storyteller. So they were telling me, you're being too idealistic, it's not going to happen, or if it happens, you have to sacrifice really a lot. So that got me thinking, and I realized that, okay, I may not be a professional full-time storyteller, but I will focus my best energies on it while I'm holding a daytime job, which is what I've been doing for the last few decades. So I wanted that human interaction factor to be a huge part of my job. So I started off in the hospitality industry. I worked in the hotel, I worked in the restaurants, I worked in a pub and a fast food restaurant. So that was my 20s, food service. Then in my 30s, I got into an interesting job as a prison officer, and that lasted for about 7-8 years. And then I tried doing auxiliary police work until the casinos were coming to Singapore. So I asked myself, why not give it a try? So I actually got into RWS Casino and was with them for a few years. The thing about working in an unusual environment like prison or the casino is that you see human behavior magnified many times. So people who are greedy, people who are angry in a casino, they tend to throw tantrums, and you see how bad things can become. Conversely, in a prison environment, you find that inmates modulate their behavior because they think they are the disempowered group. They want to curry favor from you, and you see a lot of interesting behavior, and that gives me a lot of material for my writing. I have been asked whether are the characters in my novels, the episodes I wrote about, are they based on real life experiences? And I'd say 50% of the time, yes. I would remember a certain episode from my travels or certain characters I've come across, and I'll just write them into my character. So as a storyteller, all these life experiences collected helped me a lot. It was the pre-internet days. So when we see examples of successful people around, they're usually in their 50s or 60s. And the understanding is that you have to commit your life to your life goals and passions, and it takes time before you see results. So I was never, I never had the idea that I must succeed very quickly. So when I decided that I wanted to be a storyteller at the age of 17, I told myself that do not expect to see results in the first 20 years. The first 20 years is about collecting life experiences, sharpening your storytelling skills, and putting in the effort. The important thing is to gain, number one, life experiences. Number two, give myself time to build a body of work, so that eventually the whole body of work should speak for itself. The truth is, because it took so long for even my first book to be published, there was a period of time whereby when I catch up with my friends, they would look at me with a little pity in their eye and say, you are on the wrong track. Don't you realize that you're being too idealistic? You should drop your dream and start focusing on a career. So there were moments like this when I see my friends putting down first down payment on their first condo or buying a car. I ask myself, am I missing out? But then again, when I see them sharing very excitedly about the condo and about the car, I don't see myself getting as excited. I realized that those are not things that got me excited. So let's stick to what makes me excited. Now that I'm a storyteller, I do feel the calling that I wanted to capture all these lives that we've lived in Singapore, not only for our own children, coming generations, but for foreigners who want to know more about Singapore. So that to me is a calling, which is fun. You should find that when I write English novels, it's all set in Singapore, about Singaporeans living very uniquely Singaporean lives. I'm Sebastian Sim. I am Singaporean.